Mail.
It's been years of fans like me asking for a Dino Crisis remake, but now, something feels different. Just imagine a remake looking as good as Resident Evil 2, having AI that hunts you like in Alien Isolation, or even full-on survival horror tension like Dead Space. It could be incredible. So, why hasn't Capcom done it yet? Dino Crisis deserves and is overdue a remake, and now there are several signs pointing to one. So let's take a look at why a remake really could be on the way.
From the creator of Resident Evil, Dino Crisis.
Way back in 1999, Capcom gave us Dino Crisis for the PS1, a survival horror game that was a little bit different from Resident Evil. Instead of the slow, shuffling zombies, we got quick, unpredictable dinosaurs. They marketed it as panic horror, and for good reason. These creatures didn't just stalk you, they moved between rooms, they'd play dead, they hunted you generally with AI that was ahead of its time. And with the full 3D backgrounds instead of the pre-rendered ones, the cinematic action, the dramatic character moments, they all felt way more immersive than ever. And it was a hit, 2 million copies sold. But then it was overshadowed by Resident Evil and largely forgotten after Dino Crisis 2. What? There was a third one. And then there was Dino Crisis 3, but no one really talks about that one, so what happened to the franchise? Dino Crisis is a prime candidate for a remake because the core elements still hold up. Those fast and aggressive dinosaurs were really revolutionary back in the day, and it's still just as tense today. The raptors didn't just blindly charge at you, they hunted you. They faked attacks. Unlike the zombies, they would follow you between rooms, they'd break through doors, and they'd actively track you. This added a layer of unpredictability that few horror games at the time had. Ammo was hard to come by and way too easy to spend, and healing items weren't just handed out. Every encounter really felt like it mattered. The cinematic camera angles made encounters feel dramatic, the lighting and the atmosphere all worked together to amplify the tension. The real kicker though was the choices. Dino Crisis wasn't as linear as many survival horror games were back in the day. It gave you some agency over the fate of the different characters, with decisions that actually had a tangible impact. The music could be expanded and improved. We've seen lots of reorchestrated versions of soundtracks in remakes lately that have worked really well. I personally would like to see the menu clicks and that signature roar stay the same, but that's just me. So we know it hasn't been touched in 20 years. Why? Here's where it falls apart. The clunky tank controls. Yep, they definitely add to the tension, sure. This was just a product of its time, but let's face it, the combat's awkward. I'm not sure that adding to the tension by making the controls difficult to use is the way to go. Some of the puzzles, let's face it, were a bit tedious too. There was a lot of backtracking, the key cards, watching those colour cylinders just slowly rotate around. The puzzles definitely could be more challenging without feeling like a chore. Shameless plug, but maybe take a quick look at my Lorelei and the Laser Eyes video for a modern twist on puzzles. Click the link in the description to watch that one. Then there's the corridors. A lot of them look the same. Again, a bit of a limitation at the time, but they could also be improved with shortcuts to reduce backtracking, maybe Dark Souls style. It wouldn't be Dino Crisis, or Resident Evil for that matter, without those iconic door animations. They're a bit slow, sure, they hurt the pacing, but they do add a lot of charm and atmosphere. It would be hard to imagine Dino Crisis without them, even if they do show the age a bit. Another big one for me would be environmental storytelling. There's a few notes and things scattered around Dino Crisis, which is great, but looking at modern games that do it, Last of Us, or even Bioshock for the audio logs scattered around, so they could really let us know how the chaos unfolded and bring us a bit deeper into that world. There's the voice acting. Honestly, I don't mind it. I quite like it. Some lines come across as a bit stiff, but I think it's pretty good. But a remake could bring out much, much stronger performances. With more than 20 years of improvements in sound design as well, gunshots, dinosaur sounds, they could all sound a lot more punchy and intense as well. And of course, the graphics are a big one. The PS1 charm is undeniable, and it's so nostalgic for a lot of us. But that's easy to clean up. Maybe we could get some, clearer health status indicators, or maybe we can even unglue Rick's fingers. So yep, it shows its age, but that is what makes it ideal for a remake. Speaking at Gamescom 2024, the Dino Crisis director and producer himself, Shinji Mikami, said the awesomeness of dinosaurs and the stuff you can do with dinosaurs, that's kind of really been nailed down by Monster Hunter in recent years. So even if I were to decide to make a remake or a new version of Dino Crisis, I don't really feel like there's a whole lot of space for that kind of game right now.
That's disgusting.
Who am I to disagree with the guy that made the game? But there are so many reasons why he's wrong. The best reason, Capcom know what they're doing. They've been on an absolute roll with their remakes lately. Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, each one a massive success. And with the RE engine already in place, they've got the perfect foundation to bring Dino Crisis back to life. And I really don't think there is anything like it at the minute. I mean, yep, we've got Exoprimal, which is a dinosaur game, and it is in the RE engine. But that's not Dino Crisis, that is not survival horror. We've got Ark Survival Evolved, and more recently the announcement of Turok making a comeback, but still, they are just not Dino Crisis, they are not survival horror with dinosaurs. And then, as I touched on before, there's player choice. The original already had those multiple endings, Regina escaping alone or with her teammates. A remake could expand on this, making choices even more meaningful and impactful. And we all know that remakes and remasters are doing really, really well at the minute. Just take a look at Final Fantasy VII, Demon's Souls, so many more, massive hits. Capcom has absolutely seen this, and they'll be looking to make their money as well. So why hasn't it happened? Maybe it's the franchise mishandling, going from survival or panic horror to more of an action theme, and then over to a sci-fi flop. Maybe that's put them off. But the fan interest is still there. Most people that are watching Dino Crisis remember that poll that Capcom did. And they didn't just run it, they were very public with the results. They know people want Dino Crisis back, and they told us as much. They've revived old franchises before, and recently we've seen Okami make a comeback, and I cannot express to you how excited I am for that game. And you might be thinking, well, they're busy with different things, Okami coming out. That's where we look at the divisions. Division 1, they handle Resident Evil, and you'd better believe that they would be the ones that would handle Dino Crisis, why wouldn't they? Okami, among other Capcom IPs, are handled by Division 2. Division 1 has finished up with Dragon's Dogma and more recently in 2024 Kunitsugami, so I think there's a little bit of freedom in the window. And more openly, there's the recent re-releases. First, we had Dino Crisis show up on PlayStation Plus Premium as a subscription. Then pretty quickly there was quite a bit of backlash to that and Sony decided to let us buy it outright. And then GOG, Good Old Games, came along and bundled Dino Crisis 1 and Dino Crisis 2 for a re-release. Is this just in the name of game preservation? Or is it marketing to get people warmed up to the idea of a full-blown remake? And while I was still editing this video, some very expensive adverts appeared in Times Square. That's right, we've got full Dino Crisis billboards in Times Square as of the end of February 2025. Do 2 PS1 game re-releases warrant that kind of money? I think something's happening. Maybe this is just my piece to add to the pile, proving that demand is still there, and if it happens, I really think Dino Crisis could be one of the best horror remakes ever. But what do you think? Would you want Dino Crisis as a full 3D remake? Or should it stay in the past with the dinosaurs? And if you enjoyed this discussion, consider liking and subscribing for more. AI that hurts you like and full on like Dead Space.